Breaking news, we want to, as promised, get to that news conference by Florida Power and Light. This is an update on outages. Let's listen in.
A restoration force of more than 21,500 men and women from 30 states and Canada is working around the clock, and they're making progress. As of today, all 112 hospitals in our service territory that were impacted by Hurricane Irma have been restored. And I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about how we set priorities for restoration. Facilities like hospitals are prioritized for restoration. Every year before hurricane season, we sit down with officials from all 35 counties that we serve. We work in partnership with them to determine the priorities in their community. And again, these are facilities like hospitals, 911 centers, police, and fire stations. And I think you can see getting hospitals and other critical facilities online is essential to getting a community back on its feet following a disaster like this one. In addition, all 263 of our substations, and remember that's part of the backbone of our system that is essential to delivering electricity to our customers, all substations have been restored. We continue to work in every community we serve, and we are bringing more customers back online every hour of every day. We're entering the stage of this restoration where we have restored many of the big blocks of customers, and we're now going into neighborhoods, and in some cases going house by house. The last part of the restoration is the hardest part. It is very manual, it's very time consuming. So you may not see the numbers of outages drop as quickly as we've seen in these first 3 days. There's still a lot of work to do, and we are not going to stop until every customer is back on. We remain on track with our restoration estimates, and to remind you, for FPL customers who live on the eastern half of the state, we expect a complete restoration by the end of the weekend, that's September 17th. In southwest Florida, where the damage is most extensive, we expect a complete restoration by the end of the day, September 22nd. Now keep in mind those dates mark the end of the restoration. The vast majority of customers will be restored in advance of those dates. We are and continue to bring up thousands of people each and every day, and the exceptions to those estimates would be in cases where there have been impacts from tornadoes, extreme flooding, or other extreme damage. I want to remind our customers, even if you haven't seen one of our trucks on your street or in your neighborhood, that doesn't mean we are not working to restore power in your community. We are. It's possible that the line that serves your home is located not in front of your home, but a few blocks over, and we are repairing the damage at the source. It's also possible if you see your neighbor has power on and you don't, perhaps your neighbor is served by another power line than you are. Be patient and understand that we are working to restore your power. A word about safety. Roads are starting to open up. People are going back to work, and those who evacuated Florida are starting to come back into the state. But make no mistake about it, our state is still under a state of emergency. We don't want to see people get injured or far worse following Hurricane Irma. If you have a medical emergency, or if you require electricity for medical equipment, don't wait for your power to be restored. Call 911, seek help. There are also special needs shelters that can provide for your needs. There are also power lines down all across the state. Assume that these are energized. Assume that they are dangerous. Stay away from them and report them to us at 1-800-4-OUTAGE. Also be mindful that a lot of traffic lights are still out across the state. Don't blow through them. Treat them as four-way stops. Be patient, be courteous to the other drivers on the road. Avoid traffic accidents. If you're using a generator, and I know many people are, it's important to use that generator far outside your home, away from windows. Avoid exposure to carbon monoxide. Plug your appliances directly into that generator. In closing, we appreciate your patience. We ask for your patience during what is obviously one of the most challenging rebuild and restoration efforts in our state's history. We will not rest until every single one of you, every one of our customers, has their power back on. At this time, I'd like to yield to my colleague, Jamie Gertzen, who will provide an update in Spanish, and I'd be happy to take your questions.
Buenos días, soy Jamie Gertzen, vocera de FPL. Esta mañana quiero darles un informe de cómo vamos en la restauración del servicio a nuestros clientes. Para esta mañana ya hemos restaurado el 70% de los clientes que estaban sin servicio. Eso es más de 3 millones de clientes. Sin embargo, sabemos que tenemos todavía 1.4 millones de clientes que están sin servicio y mantenemos nuestro compromiso de restaurar cada uno de sus interrupciones. Tenemos una fuerza laboral de 21.500 empleados y trabajadores que están restaurando la electricidad. Y para hoy hemos restaurado ya a 112 hospitales. Estos eran todos los hospitales críticos que fueron afectados por Irma. También hemos restaurado 263 subestaciones. Para explicarles un poco, las subestaciones son como la columna vertebral de nuestro sistema. Eso es muy importante porque eso nos ayuda a que todos nuestros clientes puedan comenzar a tener la electricidad restaurada que viene de las líneas principales que salen de las subestaciones. También quiero tomarme un momento para explicarles cómo es que identificamos esos hospitales que son funciones críticas para nuestra comunidad. Cada año colaboramos con las comunidades locales, con los gobiernos locales, para identificar cuáles son las necesidades críticas para cada uno de ellos. Y típicamente estos incluyen hospitales, bomberos, policías, plantas de tratamiento de agua. Y cada comunidad tiene una necesidad distinta, pero al final es todo para poder restaurar la normalidad a nuestras comunidades en la forma más eficiente. Ahora estamos entrando a la fase de la restauración, que es un poco más difícil. Ya hemos restaurado grandes cantidades de clientes, ahora vamos a vecindarios y vamos en algunos casos de casa en casa. Es posible que algunos de nuestros clientes piensen que no estamos trabajando, no nos vean, no vean nuestros camiones. Pero es importante que sepan que es muy posible que los cortes de electricidad estén a millas de sus hogares. Estamos reparando esos cortes y a medida que los vamos reparando, los clientes comenzarán a tener su electricidad restaurada. Todavía seguimos en curso para nuestro compromiso de restaurar la electricidad a la mayoría de los clientes, a todos los clientes que están en la parte este de la Florida para el 17 de septiembre. Una cosa que quiero decir es que es posible que donde haya áreas afectadas, que hayan sido dañadas por tornados o por inundaciones, se tarde un poco más. Para todos los clientes en el oeste de la Florida, esa fecha es el 22 de septiembre. Y nuevamente, para los clientes que están en áreas que hay un poco más de inundación o áreas afectadas, puede tardarse un poco más. Quiero recordarles a nuestros clientes que todavía las carreteras no están completamente seguras. La Florida continúa en un estado de emergencia y es muy importante que los clientes tomen todas las medidas de precaución. Si llegan a alguna parada de alto, alguna línea donde no haya electricidad, hagan parada de alto. Es importante que observe las reglas de tráfico. Si tiene una necesidad médica, no espere a que su electricidad sea restaurada. Llame al 911, es muy importante. Y finalmente, si hay líneas caídas, hay muchas líneas caídas todavía a lo largo del estado, llame al 1-800-468-8243 para reportarlo. Si está usando un generador, observe seguridad en el uso de su generador. No lo use dentro de su casa ni cerca de las ventanas. Para terminar, quiero decirle a los clientes que apreciamos mucho su paciencia. Estamos 100% comprometidos en restaurar su electricidad y no dejaremos de trabajar hasta que todos nuestros clientes tengan electricidad. Para eso, regreso con Brian Garner para tomar unas preguntas.
Happy to answer any questions you have.
Brian, can you say specifically what communities in Palm Beach and Treasure Coast right now are still without power, when they might be able to see power? I know you have that Sunday deadline, but a lot of people are out of town trying to make plans to know if they have to go somewhere else. Can you give specifics on that?
We cannot. The date that we gave is the outside of the restoration. I think if people are making plans, that's the best date to make plans for. You can stay connected with us. You can look online, either on FPL.com or in the mobile app. But that is the last date of our restoration. Again, we're working to bring people online every hour of every day.
Is that an FPL policy not to give specifics on communities and what communities are out of power?
It is our focus to restore power safely and as quickly as possible to as many customers as we can, as quickly as we can. We give estimates like that so that we allow people to make plans as they're making plans. The data that you're asking for is not something as granular as we have at this stage in the restoration. We're still bringing on big groups of people at every hour of every day. So stay connected with us, but that, for planning purposes, I would encourage people to use the dates that we provided. That's the end of the weekend for folks who live on the eastern half of the state, September 22nd for those who live on the western part of the state. And again, the vast majority of people will come online in advance of those dates.
And that Sunday deadline, you have over 700,000 people on the East Coast still without power according to the map today. Are you confident that you will be making that Sunday deadline to have everybody restored?
We are working nonstop. That is our sole focus, is to get everybody online. Again, we have restored power to more than 70% of our customers in about 3 full days of restoration.
Brian, given the tragedy in Hollywood,
yeah.
Is FPL working with any emergency officials to now identify some vulnerable populations that might need their power on a little quicker?
What happened in Broward County is a tragedy. What we are urging people is what we have urged people throughout the year, is if you have a medical emergency, if you rely on electrically powered medical equipment, don't wait for your power to be restored. Call 911, call for help, seek assistance from a special needs shelter. Those are folks that can help and may have the resources to help you in your time of need. Determining priorities for restoration is something that's done in advance of hurricane season in partnership with communities.
So, looking at that again and saying, oh, we might need to get to the nursing homes, or, we overlooked this. Let's go do this right now.
We have a restoration process that's deliberate, that's worked out in advance. It's one of the reasons why we restored all the hospitals in the state at this point. Those are critical infrastructure, top-tier priorities. It is one of the reasons why communities can get back on their feet. When hospitals are restored, it's a big part of getting a community back on its feet and recovering.
We've had some reports that with damaged equipment, FPL employees have seen that some parts have been missing. Are you getting any reports of things being stolen, like copper wire and things like that?
We are not. If you do get those reports, please report them to law enforcement. We have, as I said, 21,000 people working for us in the state right now. Massive amounts of equipment moving throughout the state. It is, as we've described, almost like a military operation, moving materials, equipment, and personnel. And so there is a lot of movement both of people and of this equipment across the state. If there are reports like that, and it's unfortunate that there are, when you hear reports of theft or looting during a disaster, please report them to law enforcement.
But I mean, your employees haven't reported to you all that they're seeing their parts, damaged parts, that stuff is missing.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Not that you're aware of.
Yeah.
And that Sunday deadline, what happens if it's not met? What happens? Is there another date that gets pushed back, or what happens?
We are working nonstop to meet the expectations that we have given, which is by the end of the weekend for folks who live in the eastern half of the state, by the 22nd for folks who live in the western part of the state. As I said, there would be exceptions, and those exceptions are people who might have had extreme or catastrophic damage, tornadoes, extreme flooding. In some cases, there are homes and businesses that cannot receive power. They've been so badly damaged. So that would be an exception as well. Until work is done on that building or that dwelling, we wouldn't be able to provide power, even if the lines that could serve it have been restored.
Brian, there are parts in West Palm Beach where there is damaged equipment sitting on the ground. You know, some neighbors are expressing some frustration with how long it's taking for crews to come out and clean it up. Do you have a message for people who, if they see some damaged equipment outside, what's the fastest way to get that taken care of?
The first thing I would urge is safety. If you see power lines, poles on the ground, stay away from them. Don't drive near them. Don't go near them. You have to assume that they're energized. There are situations like this all across the state, especially in the hardest hit areas. Also, let us know. 1-800-4-OUTAGE is the number we've been giving. That's the way you can report a power line down or equipment down near your home, and we're going to get to them as quickly as we can.
Do those cases get priority in that event that there may be a live power line down?
When you report them to us, we are going to get to them as quickly as we can.
Can you say anything about whether there's been a shortage in parts that kind of causes the delay? Has that been a case for you all?
We are on track with our restoration.
Brian, some people have complained that power came back on and then it went off again. What are some of the reasons for that?
It's possible that in some cases, as we restore main feeder lines, that there may be temporary outages that occur. If people have lost their power, understand that we know you're out of power. We're going to continue to work to restore your power. And it may be people who experience an outage, get their power back on and have an outage again. It's part of the restoration process. I understand it's frustrating, but it is something that we're going to work through until we get everybody back on.
Are there certain things in the system, you're trying to fix something else and something else might go off, or what would cause that?
There are elements of the grid where we have to de-energize a line and make repairs before we can bring it back online.
Can you explain to our viewers why they might see part of their street has power and their part doesn't? Kind of talk about the dynamic, because many people say, well, everyone around me has power, but my section doesn't.
Yeah, and I understand that is a concern for people. It is quite possible that you're served by one main power line, one feeder line, and your neighbor is served by another. So it's possible that your neighbor may get their power on before you do. That doesn't mean we've forgotten about you. We are absolutely working to restore your power. It's also possible you may not see a truck in your community at all. You may have underground service, or you may have service that ends up above ground but blocks away from where you live, and that's where the work is being done. So again, I urge customers to be patient with us. Understand that the grid is not uniform in the way the restoration happens, and that there may be some people that get power on before others.
Because you're covering such a vast area, are there resources that are sent, more resources sent to specific counties because there's a bigger need there, or is it all being spread out pretty evenly?
We deploy the resources where the need is, and clearly you've seen the greatest damage in the southwestern part of the state. We've got resources all across the state, in virtually every county of the state, staging sites, 30 of them across the state. And as we've talked about before, these are like mini cities. When you've got 21,000 people, we're staging the equipment and the people as close to the damaged area as possible, and that helps speed the restoration. So these are at places like airports and fairgrounds, and you've seen some of them, hundreds of trucks staged so they can be a 24/7 operation. And again, that helps us restore power across the service territory rather than having to move people long distances after a storm.
We've had complaints from a neighborhood in Boca Raton. They say every time there's a major storm that there's 10 houses of the whole neighborhood go out every time. Does FPL go back after restoration to find out what might be causing that every time?
Yeah, some people say they're lucky and they never lose their power. Other people say they always lose their power. There will be lessons learned after this storm, but our goal is to get as many people on as quickly as possible, to restore big blocks of customers, to restore critical infrastructure, and then at this stage in the restoration where we are now, going house by house. And as I mentioned, that's the time-consuming part. That's where there might be a pull-down in someone's backyard. We may have to work half a day to get a single customer back on. That's why the end part of the restoration takes the longest, and it's why some people might have to wait a little bit longer than other people.
Could that be a structural problem in the grid, if they're seeing that every time?
Well, I don't know. We're going to have to look into that individual situation. I can speak with you offline about that.
Do you guys change priorities based on where damaged equipment is? I mean, if this one, I'm speaking specifically of the West Palm Beach neighborhood where there was damaged equipment right where children play all the time, and I know neighbors there have come forward and talked to you guys about it. Do you guys adjust priority level at all when there's a possible danger?
Safety is obviously our top priority, as it should be for our customers. So if there's an unsafe situation, we ask customers to report it to us. I mentioned that number before, 1-800-4-OUTAGE. It's the best way for us to know exactly what you're seeing if there is an unsafe situation in your community. Again, the restoration process is a deliberate one. It's designed to get the most customers back on as quickly as possible. If there's a safety situation, obviously we're going to address that as quickly as we can too.
But if they report it, it doesn't mean that the next day or within the hour they're going to see an FPL truck there trying to fix the issue. You're saying that there's no priority list. It's just reported to us and we'll try to get to it as soon as possible.
One of the reasons I ask for patience is to describe the scope of this. There's 27,000 square miles in 35 counties that we serve. There are power lines down all across the state. Even though parts of this area that you live in may be recovering faster than others, there are parts of the state right now that have lines down everywhere. And so we are prioritizing them as we know about them. It's important to alleviate these unsafe situations if they are, but we're going to get to them as quickly as we can. We ask for your patience. We also ask for your help in identifying these situations. Any other questions?
Are you aware of any major employers in South Florida that are out of power right now?
I don't have a list of that right now.
Nothing specific? Okay.
Yeah.
And also, I was wondering, Tico seems to push messages out to its customers. Your house has power, is going to get power, whatever. Why doesn't FPL do that rather than people trying to log in to find information and not getting it?
We do provide information through our FPL mobile app on fpl.com/storm and through interviews like this on television and radio. We send out voice messages to their phones, email messages.
They're general messages. They're not getting any specific information or estimates.
We communicate what we have when we have it, and we are asking for people's patience. Understand that a lot of communication networks have been compromised as well, but we are giving customers all the information we have as soon as we have it.
I know in the past when we've seen these types of storm power outages that there have been specific neighborhoods that can look up and see when their neighborhood is going to get power back. Is there a reason why that technology is not available to people and they're just getting a general date?
The general date is the outside of the restoration process, and so when you go online and you look for what your restoration time will be, that will give the restoration time for the eastern half of the state or the western half of the state. Again, our laser focus is getting people's power back on, and we're giving you the information that we have as we have it. Thank you for your questions. Thanks for your time.
You've been listening to Brian Garner with FPL giving the latest briefing, and the latest numbers are 1.4 million people in the viewing area, 158,000 or in the state, 158,000 in Palm Beach County still without power. He did say, though, all 112 hospitals on their grid have had power restored.
Still in a state of emergency, and asking people for patience. There's the numbers right there on your screen.